Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Money Hungry Mama podcast. I'm so excited because I have Louisa today. Louisa, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Louisa Vilardi, owner of Louisa Vilardi Photography from Hopewell Junction, New York. And I'm here excited to meet with Brittany.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you are a photographer. Tell us, how did that get started?
Well, I was not always a photographer. I actually was a high school English teacher for like about a decade.
Wow.
And then I had my son, and then I took a maternity leave. The district was able to give me a year for my maternity leave, which was great. But in that year, I struggled with a number of things. So right after I had my son, my mom died a couple months later.
Oh, I'm so
And
sorry.
no, that's okay. It's part of life. I just didn't expect it to happen during that chapter. And I think that when you have any sort of like loss and trauma, that you start reevaluating things, right?
Hmm.
So, like, my plan, typical like Italian American only girl, is I'm going to have a baby and my mom's going to help me raise that baby, and I'm going to go back to work, and I'm going to have the summers off because I was a teacher, and life's going to be amazing. But that's not how I felt when she passed. I felt like, oh my God. I think one of the first things I said to my husband was, because she had passed. So I said, well, now I need childcare. So I remember saying, like, wait, I have to pay someone to spend time with my kid, and then I have to go spend all day with other people's kids. I was so confused, because
Yeah.
it was not part of the plan.
Yep.
So, and even though it's part of so many people's plans, childcare and daycare and all that stuff, many people are not lucky enough to have parents that can help or family. So I
Hmm.
get it. I just, like, it wasn't part of the plan. So then, photography is something that I have always excelled at, I've always been good at as a hobby. It was something that I just loved to do for
Hmm.
in that year, because I had a little more time, so I was home with the baby. I was obviously mourning and grieving and trying to just get out of the house. I had already been doing this, but in that year, I was like shooting friends' headshots or shooting family photos for friends, obviously at no cost. They were just friends, or people in my network. And then I was like, hmm, I'm like, what if you know, what if I don't know, put feelers out there if people would actually like pay me to do this?
Hmm.
So I did probably like 6 to 8 months of pay what you will. So I had done my portfolio building of like friends and family and things like that. And then I started doing like a pay what you will system. And I was like, and I would survey them afterwards. I'm like always a teacher at heart, right? And I'm
Yep.
like, oh, you enjoy the experience. If you were a client and it wasn't pay what you will, what would you have paid for the session, kind of thing. Anyway, I gathered my research and whatever, and then it was like time. It was time for me to go back. The year was up, and then I went to HR, and they're like, we're actually going to we can give you another year if you want it,
Hmm.
and I perfect. So I secretly, in that year, was essentially building an informal kind of business, right? Like,
Hmm.
nothing was set. I wasn't trying to build, I wasn't doing an LLC at that time. I was just like, but I was getting my ducks in a row.
Hmm.
And that's when I actually started like getting clients, like real clients that
Um,
found out about me. I didn't have a website or anything, no Instagram, because I had to be very careful because I essentially was still an employee, of the district. So probably about, 4 months into that second year of maternity leave, I said, I think, I really want to do this. And I had spoken to a fellow photographer. He was actually our wedding photographer. And I had called him and we had a very lengthy discussion. It was probably a lot shorter than I remember, but in my head it was lengthy because I had like a
yeah.
million questions. And he really gave me that boost of like, he's like, I've seen your work and it's very good. Then we talked about a lot of business things. And I like formally resigned from teaching. I also coincidentally then was pregnant with my second son,
Wow.
but no one knew.
Hmm.
So anyway, so then I resigned from teaching. started a photography business. And, photography goes a little deeper, right? So, like in business, when you're a business owner, you always try to confirm your why, right? Like, why am I doing this? And I think that there's always been this underlying, really passionate part of me that's like, everyone should have pictures of people they love, you know? Because when somebody passes away, Brittany, you have to go through all these photos.
Yeah.
My parents were immigrants. They came from Italy. My brother was born in Italy. So we didn't have they weren't like we weren't a digital family, right? We couldn't be, right? They just
Yeah.
I don't even know where some of these pictures came from. But you go through all these photos and I wish, like, let's say we went through 300 photos. I wish we were going through 3,000 photos.
Yeah.
And I think that there is this like really deep part of me that takes photography so seriously because I see the value in when people are gone, we as photographers have the power to present photos to you, images and like moments where you can actually like you can bring those people back to life just by looking at that picture.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so now it's about 10 years later.
Wow.
And I've built a really solid business that each year I'm like very proud to say because I'm like a very realistic business owner as well. And I have 3 boys, 10, 8, and 3. So I'm like in the thick of it as like every mom out there understands that just being in the thick of it is so hard as a business owner. But I'm proud to say that like each year I'm realistic enough to know when to scale, like when to try to grow and when to scale. So, like 2025 was my year of significant growth. I made some really small tweaks in my business and I grew tremendously,
Wow.
but it cost me a lot of time with my family, you know?
Yes.
So, 2026, so I didn't like that. Like I like the money.
Yeah.
Who does not like the money? So the money was wonderful, but like felt a little yucky as a mom.
Yeah. Yes.
So I'm scaling back 2026. I do this thing in January with photographers where we plan out the year and it's called refine and release. And you refine the things that you're really, really good at and that will bring in profit or help you grow. And then we release the things that are no good, like those like really bad ex-boyfriends that like we can't break up with, right? But
Love it.
or like we know we have to get rid of them. So photographers do that, right? They'll be like, I don't really like maternity, but I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in like, well, if you don't really like it, you shouldn't be doing it, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I released a couple genres of photography that I have been shooting for a long time, but they were not benefiting me.
Mhm.
Even though they were bringing in money, money is not the be all and end all of success.
100%.
So I released a couple genres and now I've just refined, what I really want to shoot and I scaled back. I'm really trying not to book on weekends. It's sometimes impossible, because
Yeah.
I do have a number of retainer clients and sometimes the weekends are the only time they can shoot, but that's my 2026. My 2026 is the year of scaling back a little bit, but still with success.
Raise your hand if you're planning a family vacation. Sounds almost as exhausting as the vacation itself. Yeah, me too. That's why I want you to know about the summer sponsor, Wishes Family Travel with Sue. Sue is a Disney earmarked travel agent who plans stress free trips for real families. And she's especially wonderful with young kids and food allergies, so nothing slips through the cracks. Disney World, Disney Cruise Line, all inclusive resorts, even honeymoons. She handles every little detail so you actually get to relax because your time together is precious and it should feel magical, not overwhelming. Adventure is out there, and Sue can help you plan yours. Follow her on Instagram at Wishes Family Travel with Sue. And remember, she's free to use. 100%. Okay, so there's so many things in here.
Sorry.
I like,
My goodness, you feel like a therapist?
I love this seat. Okay, so let's go back. So First things first, I also taught, and the same thought. I mean, I did not lose my mom, but my mom was working full time. So her babysitting for me was never going to be a thing. And I remember standing in the classroom and so you were a teacher, you would like wait out in the hallway and my girl was like right next door and we're sitting there talking and I was like, I just had my first and he was only about 8 weeks old when I went back to school, and I remember just feeling such sadness, and I was like, "Here I am
Yeah.
paying somebody else to watch him at 8 weeks old to watch other people's kids." And there is, like, that point in teaching when you become a mom that I think we all have that thought, that it's like, "Dang, I'm giving up my paycheck to have somebody watch what I made so I could watch what other people made." And I really do believe all of us have that thought at one point, and maybe some don't, but for me, that was like a massive light bulb moment in the money hungry mama era, right? It's 100% understand what you're saying. That I could feel that to my core. Now shifting, so now you found this photography and what I love, guys, and what I want you to pay attention to is she didn't just go in saying, "Here, like, this is my charge, this is whatever," and just assumed people were going to charge. No, she started by doing things for free, learning how to do it, getting the technique down. Then she did a pay as you can, basically, like, pay what you can, pay what you want. I think that that is such a cool way to get people in to learn your business, right? Because now you're getting money, but you're in that safe space where it's not you're charging them, they have the opportunity to pay you, but also they're by doing that, they're giving you feedback.
Mhm.
They're giving you the momentum that you need to kind of scale and figure out your business. Loved that. So for everybody listening, let's put that little seed in there if you haven't started something yet. I love that because I think when we go into business and one of the things is we look at what other people are doing, which you absolutely should. You need to know your competition around you, even though you know me, I believe in collaboration over competition 100%. But you need to know what people are doing around you, right? You need to become you. You need to stand out in any way, shape, or form. But by doing something like that gives you the opportunity to get money, but not have the pressure to provide packages, to provide items, to provide what you think it's supposed to be. It gives you time to learn and grow with some money coming in, but without the pressure of I need this to be perfect because I charged them an amount. So I loved that. I thought that was a great idea. And then the last thing is this refine and release. So I love the fact that you said that you scaled in 2025 because, and that icky feeling that you're talking about is something that is resonating with me so hard right now. Because as we all know, right now it is March 17th. My third event for the book tour is Wednesday. That means I had an event every single week in March. And, I went to Rhode Island and it was beautiful. Every person I met was amazing. But that icky feeling of leaving and not being there for the pickup that I've been doing for so long and not like it's there. I feel that to my core. And there has to be some sort of, like you said, give and take, right? Like we have to scale. There has to be times where it's going to get a little bit icky, but all that scaling and that growth and that money can lead to like an incredible vacation with them at the end to be like, congratulations, we did it this year. You guys stuck with me. And
Right.
now let's go on a vacation and mommy's scaling back. I'm right back to where I was before. And I think like that is okay. And I want you guys to hear that because I know I needed to hear Louisa just say it right now that it was a season, right? Like I knew going into this 7 months was going to be a season of traveling. And, I've been here with them for the past, like, how old is my daughter? She's turning 5. I've been here for 5 years with them. And like they're used to the pickups being mom, the drop offs being like, what? Who gets to say that? Like my kids are used to my constant presence, even though I've been building a business. And I think that that is the beautiful thing about being a money hungry mama is somehow we do all the things and it's such like a beautiful blessing, but if you're in a season of growth and needing to scale and needing to do something, you're listening to two moms who one did it last year. And Louisa, what would you say? Massive success?
Yeah, total success. It's just, you have to remember that there's two costs. It's
Hmm.
what people are paying you, and then it's what your success is costing yourself, right? Like, what is it costing your family? What is it costing you? Like, are you having a major burnout because of it, or are you feeling on top of the world? You know? So I think that there's two costs to always look at. To me, that's how I always look at things.
100%. And like for myself right now, like we're in month one. We're in month one of a 7-month book tour. I also think, guys, like it's so funny. My sister came with me to Rhode Island this weekend and we got in the car and she like kind of shut down. And if you ever met my sister in real life, she is like an actual beam of light. Like she is just like this beautiful, like soul, can talk to a wall, whatever. And she just goes quiet. And I'm like, are you tired? She goes, Brittany, I do not have this social battery to keep going like this. And she's like, I'm exhausted. She's like, I don't know how you're doing this. Like, and that for me was just such a moment of, dang, okay, like I am doing something like that not many people do. And it's so funny, but it was just like, it's okay to be in these moments of scaling and growth. And at the same time, know that feeling icky doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It
Mhm.
just means that you're doing something different, but you can always go back to change it and to fix it.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a huge misconception when you own a business is that like once you have decided something that you're just
Mhm.
forever, and it's not true. Like, I mean,
No.
if a restaurant puts something on the menu, if it's not working, they're gonna take it off, and that's what we need to do as business owners when something's not working the way that you want it to work. You either have to reassess, right, and figure out why it's not working, or you just release it. Like, I think that listen, it happens. We do it with people, right? We do it right. Friendship doesn't make sense. It's like, see ya. When a relationship doesn't make sense, like, bye. You're downhill on
Yeah.
skates. See you later. It's
Yeah.
like
Running.
so I just think that, and especially moms, we just have a very different layer that other business owners do not
Yeah.
have. And it's
Yeah.
the truth. And people have argued me on that point, and that's fine. Like people can argue, and I'm not undermining, I'm not speaking condescendingly. I'm just saying we have a very different layer that we have to wear as moms. So it's just like we're drowning in business, and then someone hands you like a 40-pound weight, and they're like, here, can you also hold this
Yeah.
and swim and do the triathlon? Oh, and then also, can you take this?
Yeah.
Really? So I think we just have an extra layer of crap.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And honestly, like, here's the thing. And this is like, I understand exactly what she's saying because something just happened last week. So, my days look like getting the kids ready for school, making all 3 lunches, doing their drop offs, all, solo dolo, sitting on Zooms for however many hours a day, immediately going from the Zoom to pick them up, and then doing the mom thing, bringing them to dance or baseball or gymnastics, coming home. Thank God my husband is fantastic and he will help out with the dinners. So then switching off. So now he's doing dinners and I'm going full on in the business. And it's like this constant. And I think one of the biggest layers that people misconstrue is our minds don't shut off.
Mhm.
Like as other business owners, it's like, oh, let's go grab a drink. Let's go to sleep. Like, what is that crazy concept? Like, let's go do these things. And with a mom in business, your business becomes your next baby. I don't care what anybody says, that's how I refer to it because you're going to do everything for it. You're going to think about it all the time. It's going to be something that you're like, "Oh my gosh, I need to do this for it. I need to do this for it." It becomes another kid
Right.
where just like my kids are constantly on my mind. Did I send in that shirt? Did I do the eggs? Oh my gosh, I forgot the gallon of milk. Like all of these little tasks are not just our tasks. It's also the tasks of how many little humans you have in your house, right? And then it's keeping composure. It's not losing your mind. It's, finding ways to take that mommy minute and be like, okay, I just need like 5 seconds in a shower by myself just for my mind to calm down because it's never calm. And I think that you're so right in saying that because of our minds just don't shut off and we're taking care. And also, there's that layer of that mama bear protection. Like, you own this business, but you also need to provide for these kids. And if that messes up, there's a lot more at stake because now you have these little ones looking at you like, what were you supposed to do? And that's just a mind concept thing, guys. Like, I want you to hear me when I say that. It's in our minds, but if it doesn't work out, you're talking to a girl that tried 30. I got right back on the horse and tried something different, right? Like it's not the end all be all. And I know sometimes it can feel that way, but I promise you, if we get anything from Brittany's stories, it's just get back on the horse and try something else,
Right.
right? Like, just get back on the horse, close the website, be like, all right, well, we tried that, pivot. There's growing in the pivot. So I look I love that thought. I love that concept because it's so true. And the people I'm sure that are fighting you are not moms.
Usually, it's either that or men.
Yeah. Okay. The same category. They fit. They're not a mom.
To be fair, I know a number of men that do stay home and then their wives work, and most of them or all of them still feel like, it's a layer that is more exaggerated than it really is.
Yeah.
We also have the ability to birth these children,
It's not the same.
and hold them in our bodies,
Yeah.
so it's fine. I mean, I think a friendly disagreement is always healthy for the brain.
Yeah, it's healthy for the brain and it's healthy to go viral on social media, guys. If you can handle the bullets coming at you
Yeah.
left and right, go ahead and speak your truth because I personally cannot. So you will never see me speaking my truth on social media. I cry looking at some of the comments on other people's stuff, and I'm just like, wow, that's terrible for you. But if you can, great conversation to spark on social media, but
Yeah.
just beware.
Yeah.
But no, it's so true. I think like I just call it beautiful chaos, like this whole season of our lives and growing. And it's like just keeping that end result in mind, right? Like you scaled and you grew last year, and then this year you're right back to being a sports mom and doing all the things and bringing them to wherever. And I just think like that's the beauty in this. You can do as you want. Like you can grow when you want, you can scale back when you want,
Mhm.
you can be like, "Hey, you know what? I actually wanna go back to teaching." Cool. Do it. Do whatever you want. Like, it's totally fine. So, I love this. Okay, so now I love hearing how you grew, right? Like, I love that we did the pay, and I love that you didn't have a website or anything, and you're like, you started getting clients, and the clients came because of word of mouth, because you were doing something so different that people were like, oh my gosh, you should talk to Lisa. Like, she could sit there and do your video for whatever. That is why it grew so fast more than any other photographer, is because it was a cool option that people don't forget. You know how your kids have 47 new outfits for summer and you're still rocking the same black tank top from 2019? Yeah, same. That's why I love this summer sponsor. Mauve Shop Boutique, a mom owned shop built by a mama who actually gets it. Trendy, wearable pieces that make you feel like yourself again. And here's the best part, they ship anywhere in the country, so you can fill your cart from the couch after bedtime. Free shipping on orders over $75. And use my code MHM10 because trust me, it feels fast. Mauve Shop Boutique, where you come to feel like you, and as they say, see you in the fitting room. That's what you Isn't it? That's what you did for your business. You did something so different that people are like, "Oh my gosh, it's a pay as you whatever." Like, that's really cool. Like, "Oh, you wanna get pictures? You should go talk to Louisa." That is the thing. You did something so untraditional that it became word of mouth without even a website or, like, a social media, which is really, really cool. And I love the fact that you just were like, "I'm not making this because you were worried about school." Meanwhile, I called my union rep and I'm like, "Hey, just so you know, I have businesses going on." He's like, "It's fine as long as it's at
That's
another
funny.
school."
Yeah, I mean, because I obviously, I was just being careful because
Yeah,
I didn't know what was gonna happen,
for
I mean, I
sure.
knew I wanted to stay home and raise my children, but what if things changed, right? Like,
Yeah,
it all goes back to, like, dealing with loss, like, it really makes you think you think this is the trajectory of your life, and then something happens and totally uproots what your
yeah,
plan, you know? Um
100%.
and like I said, that pay what you will year or so turned into like me actually being able to like establish firm pricing for myself. And then obviously my pricing for many photographers, many business owners, my pricing has just gone up and up and
Of
up.
course,
Yeah.
of course, especially, like, as you get the portfolio, as you get the client, of course it should go up, right? Like, of course. But you started at such a humble, amazing spot, which is why it worked out so well, 100%. Now
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
no, 100%. And now you're what, 10 years in,
Yeah,
and
about 10 years. Not formally, obviously, because that was just, like, really when, started everything, but it's been about 10 years, yeah.
okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. What was
Yeah.
the hardest part in this 10 years?
So I would say balance has been the hardest part. Just balancing a business and motherhood, specifically related to the business. My hardest challenge is like I'm not the strongest editor, and I've had to learn a lot. I'm married to a real tech savvy guy who's been able to help me. He's also like he's a great graphic designer, so he was the one that taught me the most about like, Photoshop and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I'm sure other professions understand this, that like once you learn something and you nail it, then something bigger and better comes.
Always.
And then you have to like learn that.
Mhm.
So I think that was probably the hardest thing. But really the biggest challenge for me was just the balance of owning a business and motherhood, to be honest, to be really honest. And I'm defined by like, I mean, I am a photographer, but I'm also a writer. It's I have to be careful what I say, but I think that years ago, it was so easy when people were like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "I'm a
Yeah.
teacher." I'm a teacher, period. Right? Like that was it. I was a teacher. And now I just do so many things. So even though I left teaching, I do a lot of like private coaching with photographers and mentoring. And I love teaching. It's just a part of
Yeah.
my parents didn't speak English. So from the moment I could write, I remember my dad being like, "How do you spell?" He would write checks out and he would say like, "How do you spell whatever word?" Like I remember he always had trouble with 18. He's like, "Why is there a GH in here? I don't understand." But I'd always help him write checks or things for work. Or I remember my mom going on a job interview at like a value city and I had to go with her and we had to talk to the very Italian general manager and saying like, I'm going to go with her because she can't fill out. She was basically illiterate. Like she could not write, and I had to go with her and like fill out the application like during the interview. So I always had that love for language and words and then teaching it, right? And then
Yeah.
as an adult, became a teacher. But now it's like really what I love to do. I do a lot of coaching, mentoring. I teach workshops. I run a retreat in Long Beach Island for photographers. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's really, I mean, that's really been the best decision in the last few years, is to fuse my experience as an educator with photography, because listen, there's amazing speakers for photographers who are speakers, but I don't know if I would coin them as educators, right? They're
Yeah.
just like very impressive and so talented that we sit and we want to listen to them speak. But I think being a photography educator is a little different.
Mhm.
I think we approach things really differently. And I almost wish, I was thinking about this morning, like I wish I could go back and be a teacher now that I'm a mom. So I didn't have any kids when I was a teacher. And
Same.
I was teaching high school English. And like, I thought to myself this morning while I was driving, I said, if I went back and I was a teacher now, there would be no homework because like the homework thing is just so difficult. There would be no homework. I wouldn't be such a hard ass.
Mhm.
Um, and obviously just like 10 years more of life experience, I think I would just approach things differently.
Yeah.
I was 21 when I started teaching. What the hell did I know at 21?
No, your kids would never do that. Your kids would never. I was like the queen of before kids being like, my kids will never.
Yeah.
My kids never like they never would before. All
No,
right. So
no,
it's like,
I know.
it's
It's wild.
wild.
It is. It's wild the way we thought before kids and now. Like and there's one particular thing. I remember going to restaurants when I didn't have kids and I was like, look at these parents. These kids are on their iPads. Like, get them off the iPads. And now I'm like, we can't leave the house until have we charged the main device, the backup device, and then the third device, just in case something goes flying out the window in the car. I
I
mean,
can't.
and I don't care now. Like I see parents struggling at restaurants and I want to be like, do you need my phone? Do you want my phone? Because it will give you like peace and quiet. And like, listen,
Conversation.
you can throw all the research at me, right? That like devices ruin people's lives, but not during dinner, right? Like I'm just being honest. Like we're about to get on a plane where my kids are competing in Scotland, right?
Okay.
For
Cool.
2 older ones are golfers, they're competing in Scotland. Do you think I'm gonna get on that plane with my 3-year-old, okay, and not have, like, a plan in place just so I can say, "Yeah, I read that article on, like, too much screen time, and it's gonna rot his brain." Like, okay, it might actually be rotting his brain. There's 120 people on this plane that are gonna wanna murder me if I don't keep this kid quiet, you know?
Yeah,
So I think it all boils down to sanity. It does, and
I think so too.
for moms
For
specifically.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. And honestly, guys, like if everybody's listening and is like concerned, but like also get what we're saying, I'm telling you right now, there's so many cool apps that teach them how to read, that teach them how to do math, that teach them like you can change with what they're watching and you can really like block out things. But I'm in the same boat. You won't catch me on a plane without an iPad. That's not gonna be me. I'm not getting recorded that my kid's screaming and crying, and, that's, like, my biggest fear. My
Yes.
biggest fear.
We're, like, on TikTok, right? Because
Yeah, that is my
that mom that
biggest.
couldn't keep their kid quiet, you know?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
biggest fear in my life.
So,
No,
yeah,
it's
so
like, it used to be sharks, and now it's ending up
now
on TikTok.
yeah, so to go back, I think that was the hardest. Your original question was what's been the hardest? And I do think balance as a mother is quite possibly the most challenging, you know?
It's
And
very
I
hard.
think there's always ways to make money. There's always ways to improve your business strategies and things like that. But to figure out that balance, like
100.
we're raising humans,
Yep.
like, we're growing a business, but we're also, like, growing, like, these humans that we have to keep alive and, hope that they grow up to not be these, like, terrible douchebag kids, you know?
It's so true. It's so true. I think I think that is the hardest part of parenting is yes, like teaching them things, right? Like obviously reading all those things, but the hardest part to me is being like, "Dang, who are you when you walk out of the house?" Like I hope to God you can tell people no. I hope that you can stay in a lane of having an angel on your shoulder to be like, that's probably not the best idea that we go and do that." Like that is the hardest struggle for me because peer pressure is real. It's a thing. It happened to me. It happened to everybody, right? Like I just hope that there's a conscience that stays with them when they walk out of the house. I think that is the hardest part of parenting. For everybody that still has the little nuggets right now where they're just babies and God bless and enjoy every second. Yes, you're not getting sleep coming from a mom that still has a 2-year-old, but my almost 9-year-old gives me more anxiety attacks when he leaves the house because I'm like, I don't know what happens in your conversations. I don't know what you're doing. And that gives me more anxiety at this point in my life.
Yeah.
So true. And for everybody that was listening, don't think I didn't hear her. Louisa said that she has she teaches and she does all the things. I'm getting her in the free Money Hungry Mama group. Don't you worry, guys. I'm going to get her there. It's happening. But yeah, no, I think, as we are doing this and we're meeting all these incredible moms, I just love the raw and the real. And that's why we do this. And that's why we're money hungry mamas and we're working hard at this because we want to do these moments. We want to be able to go to Scotland. That's incredible. For
Yeah,
your,
it's
your
pretty
kids
cool.
playing golf. Imagine taking time off of teaching for that. It'd be so
Yeah.
hard.
I would lose my job. I, like, wouldn't be able to
A
I
hundred
wouldn't be able
percent.
yeah, I wouldn't be
Like
able to do that. And
that is so cool.
there's other things, so, like, when I do that program at the beginning of January, the refine and release, and you look at your entire year, and
Yeah.
I have a strategy when we move backwards because I have done a lot of theater in my life and production, and, like, in a production when you're planning a production, you're always working backwards, right? Like, you never start and say, "Okay, we're here now, like, let's move forward." You're always working from that, like, you're working from
And
strike,
see.
basically, the day after the show. You're working from strike, and then final performance, and then the performances, and then so you're working backwards. So that's my strategy when we look at the year. We start in, so we were doing it in January. So we're starting at that day. So January 2, and then we're moving backwards because December, November, that's like fresh in your mind. Like what worked, what didn't work, things like
I
that.
love that.
Yeah. So that shows a huge picture of what you want your year to look like. I mean, it's
Mhm.
only 12 months. I know it's 365 days, but it's really only 12 pieces of the puzzle. I always take so July we travel to North Carolina because there's these 2 tournaments that my kids do and they're kind of only like 3 weeks apart from each other. So we used
Mhm.
to go and come back and then go for the second one. But the past few years, we've just now rented an Airbnb for the entire month. And it becomes really a month of like rest in the business, right? Like I'm not shooting every day. I'm not like in my emails all day, every day. It really becomes a month to like leave your environment. You're in
Mhm.
a different place. We're living off the same 5 outfits, right? Because you just like pack 5 outfits and you've got a washer dryer and you realize like you don't need all the shit that's in your house like you do because you're
Love
like,
that,
oh,
but yeah.
been living here for 30 days and we didn't need like, 16 sweatpants and 14 Nike shoes and all that stuff. So that's always good. And I think that whether it's photography or whatever business, right? Like we all need that little brain break to just reset a little bit and then pick back up, right? Like I'm sure accountants probably feel like that after tax season, right? They're probably like, "Oh my god, don't like I'm turning my email off. I'm turning my phone off for like 2-3 weeks, you know?" I think we all need that break. December is also a month that I really try to slow things down because I've done all my holiday photos. Those are done. People want them in like October. So December is usually the month where I'm like, okay, gearing up for the holidays, focusing on family and things like that.
Love it.
Yeah, so I
Love
bet
it.
everybody should do that. You need a little brain break. We are not machines. Like we're not.
No,
We're human beings. If we were machines, we would be much more efficient.
100.
Yeah, but we're humans and we have a brain and our brain and our heart and our bodies can only take so much. So you have to just give yourself a break.
I love it so much. So, obviously, I just said I went to Rhode Island this past weekend, and it was a 4-hour car ride. It was a 4-hour car ride, and I brought one of the wonderful humans who's on my team with this book tour and my sister. Let me tell you, I guess, like, talking about brain breaks too, like, you guys heard my day, I am constantly talking to somebody. Like that, there's not much time to not to, like, have to myself to just, like, spew things out. We were in that car ride and some incredible conversations happened, and I was like, "Oh my gosh," taking that brain break of not hearing all the zillion other voices and just focusing on, "Hey, like, how are you feeling today?" to turning into, "We're doing this." And it's like, I don't know where we span to like that, but it's so true. So I highly recommend. As we know, I live by the beach. So, like, my spot of sanity where it's like I can't handle it anymore, I will drive and I will sit in my car and I will just look at the water and be
Yeah.
like, okay, this is my quiet moment. So, I highly, highly suggest finding a place in your town, whether it's a nice tree and it has to be outside, right? Like, you have to get that fresh air to kind
Yeah.
of also help too. So find your spot, find your sanity, whether it's right after a drop off. That's what I do. Like, I drop the kids and it's 15 minutes and it's just me on a bench looking at the water and it changes my life.
Yes, and you're so lucky that you live by the beach, but just a funny story is that I'm so tightly wound, right? And I have so much anxiety that like I never have a chance to breathe. I have, and I'm like, I'm not medicated. I should be, but like, but I just have so much anxiety that, I always try all these different things. Nothing works, right?
Mhm.
So I did this retreat in LBI and we were doing a yoga shoot on the beach and we had these beautiful
Love.
models and I had them get in the water for like some of the shots. And anyway, we wrapped the shoot and I'm fully clothed, obviously, like, I'm in, like,
Yeah.
normal everyday streetwear, and anyway, the models were, like, coming out of the water, and, like, I don't know, the enormity of the ocean has always been fascinating to me,
Mhm.
but, like, I've always been fearful because, like, I grew up in New Jersey, so it's like,
Sharks.
that Jersey Shore water is not the Bahamas, right?
No, there's sharks.
Yes. So I have always been fearful, even as an adult, to go into the water, right? But I go. I'm just like, I don't really like it. So I'm watching these two women that, they do yoga, they're beautiful, and they're in the water and they're just like, look, they're feeling the sun. And I looked at them and I'm thinking, like, wow, I want to be like that. Like, I want to
Yeah.
like go outside and like just catch some sun and not fear that I'm gonna
Yeah.
get skin cancer in 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So I jumped in the water fully clothed. Like,
Whoa!
told them, I said, "I'm so scared. I'm so scared." And the one girl who was like half my size, like so tiny. She's like, just take my hand, and we're going to help you. And then the other model was like, yes, yes, take both of our hands. Come on, just come with us. Fully clothed, jumped in the
Love
ocean.
it.
I went farther than I ever have, even as a kid. And the water was so warm because it was the end of September. So it had had months to, warm up.
Warm up.
And I have never felt so relaxed in my entire life in a place that was always uncomfortable for me as a kid. I
Yeah.
watched all my friends like jump into the ocean, go as far as they could. And I was like, nah, I'm okay over here.
Yeah.
I think that relates to, it's like such a metaphor to business, right?
Mhm.
Like every business owner is so afraid to raise their prices, do a different marketing strategy, be uncomfortable, try to take on new clients, whatever it is, right? Get a new headshot. We're like afraid to be like, no, don't, no, I like my headshot from 24 years ago. It looks just so just like I jumped in the water and I had no plan on doing it, no plan. I just like, it was so instinctive. And then they were like, just take my hand. And I didn't know I didn't know
Yeah.
these girls. And it was so beautiful. And I wrote this whole thing on like human connection, how like really it can just save you from things.
100%.
And I think in business, we're always like, oh, like I can't, like, oh my God, right? Like, you may have never thought of this, but it might be like unrealistic to be like, my next book tour is going to be in Greece, right?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Struggling with the nation.
But like, why not? You know?
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, I think I want my next book tour to be in Tuscany. So why is it not in Tuscany? And I think it's just like we put these things in our head, right? Like, wow, the ocean is like so enormous and beautiful, but terrified of it, right? Same thing,
Mhm.
like, wow, like it would be great. It would be great to make $1 million next year, but
Mhm.
I can't make that. Well, yes, actually, you could. If you really make a plan, could. You might be selling
Yeah.
some gold to help make some money. But
Offset.
I think if you just take the leap, that sometimes it's like worth it because you then get this feeling of like, was it right or was it not right? You know,
Mhm.
I think that sometimes it's taking the leap, doing scary things is that like, that's what business is all about. Sometimes,
100%.
sometimes it's safe and sometimes it's a gamble and like, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose,
No, 100%. A
Yeah.
100. I love that so much. I love that so much. Okay, I could literally talk to you all day, but what does being a money hungry mama mean to you?
Happiness, happiness with my family and my business and finding that balance.
I love it. I love it. Happiness. That makes my heart so happy. Oh my gosh, you have been just an incredible, insightful conversation today. Like I loved this conversation for so many reasons. But how can our listeners support you?
Gosh, how can they support me? Well, you can just so I have two websites. I have louisavilardi.com and louisavilardiphotography.com. And just go on there, read about me, and if you ever want to connect, just connect.
Love it. Do you have any Instagrams or anything like that too?
Louisa
Okay.
Vilardi. It's at Louisa Vilardi Photography.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. You are a gem.
Thank you so much for having me.